Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Maestri. I'm kind of new to tabletops, but I'm very passionate about it, and I am on a quest to become a better GM, a better player, and a better person. And I want to share with you some of the cool stuff that I have learned that I think you'll like. This is a two-part series on safety tools. If what you play are really tactical, mechanic heavy, mechanic first war games, or war style games, pretty much the only thing you and your players do is sort of strategize to get to a goal and engage in combat, or really straightforward dungeon crawls with bad guys and traps and puzzles. This is probably not going to be useful for you. If the games you run have any narrative elements to them, have any character exploration, relationships between the player characters, relationship between the players and NPCs. If you deal with emotional themes in any capacity, death of a loved one, the mental implications of failure, and having to make difficult moral choices, that kind of thing, this video and the subsequent one will be useful. I'm not saying that one style of play is better than the other, just that I think they need different things to be successful at the table. When some people hear safety tools, they instantly sort of bristle a little, and this weird contention of like my table, my rules, if people don't like it, they can leave. That kind of attitude, we're all adults, all of that stuff kind of seems to come to the forefront. But I think maybe these folks think that if you are using safety tools, like, you're turning your game into something fundamentally unrecognizable. And that's not it at all. It's, in fact, you're probably already doing it. Safety tools is just like the word for it to reference a kind of thoughtfulness at the table. And really, that's all it is. It's just about being thoughtful about yourself and your players. It's literally like, hey, my dad just died, so, maybe we can, like, glaze over paternal interactions because I'm still feeling kind of heavy about it. Or, like, I'm super not into hearing about the bard, like, fucking his way through every bar we're at. Can we just skip over that? Can we, like, fade to black or something? Or if, like, you're describing the visceral torture of someone and someone goes, no, okay, we get it, let's move on. Anytime you sort of stop the game to kind of pivot from one of these things or to glaze over, like, that's all a safety tool is. It doesn't necessarily need to be rooted in trauma. It's just, I don't want to play this thing in the game. Like, it's not fun for me. And so calling it safety tools is really just giving it a name. The scenarios I described are an X card, a line, and a veil. Like, those are it. When you hear me talk about it, like, that's really all it is. I really wish that I could tell people that they needn't get bristly about it. Not always about trauma. Sometimes it's just about that ick factor. But I highly doubt anyone who would actually benefit from understanding that would watch this video. So if you have anyone like that in your life, perhaps you can kind of let them know that, safe tools are not like the worst thing in the world, and they're not going to change the game into something unrecognizable. Before we talk about the actual mechanical tools that you can use, I want to make note of something key. As the GM, you are probably thinking about the table a whole lot more than any of your players are. And you generally have an idea of how you want the game to go and how you want the game to be. So to you have an idea of what safety tools mean to your table and how you want them used. However, players even veteran ones who may not have been exposed to this kind of thing before may not really know how to engage with them a lot of times. So the onus really is on you as the GM to give them direction. This all starts with creating a place of trust. And I know that sounds like a bunch of like hokey, nebulous, psychobabble bullshit, but I promise you it isn't. If you do this, you will actually be able to go a little harder with your players because they trust you to put their security first. The biggest thing is creating a space where people can say no to you. It doesn't seem like it, but honestly, saying no or advocating for yourself is stupidly difficult for most people. Like, you wouldn't think that it would be, and it definitely shouldn't be, but it very, very much is. And if you think about it, like, is that the kind of GM you want to be? You don't want to be someone who, other people go along with because they're too afraid to say no. If that's honestly something that you are not only okay with, but something you seek out, I really don't think you will get anything out of watching my videos, and you should probably leave. Anyway, so it's hard for people to say no. First, let's go through a couple of reasons why. I'm a big believer in a problem well stated is a problem half solved. So one reason that players might hesitate in saying no to you is that they don't want to upset you. They think saying no will make you think less of them, it'll make you upset with them or whatever. This is honestly the thing that I personally struggle with the most. Especially if you are part of a marginalized group in any way, like women of color especially, you've kind of been taught to just go along as best you can. And you have to sort of unlearn that as you get older. Especially when there's a male authority figure around. It's not about being submissive. It's about, like, don't make waves, don't call attention to yourself. That's how you get people in charge to respect you. And we're not here to talk about the realities of institutional and generational racism and trauma. That's for another video. And this isn't just people of color. This is white people, any person really with any kind of anxiety or neurodivergence or something even as uncomplicated as they don't know you very well. All of these things can coalesce into them being sort of not comfortable with saying no to you because they are worried that it's gonna make you mad. And honestly, it's their own shit that's making them feel that way. It's probably not anything you've done. But it might be the environment you've created. To kind of see where it might be, think about a time that a player has challenged you on something in front of the rest of the group. How did it go? Whatever the answer is, that's the blueprint for how other players are looking at you now. Sort of tangential to this, players might think that not saying no shows a willingness to be engaged and to commit. They don't want to be seen as the difficult one who's not a team player. You don't want to be like the lone dissonant voice, Everyone else is fine with it. Why can't you just man up? This is especially true if you have even like mild anxiety. You're convinced that everyone else is fine and you're the only sort of dumb asshole to have any kind of problem with anything, so just get over it. You're probably hearing a theme at this point. It all sort of boils down to the same thing. They don't want to be a problem player. They don't want to say no to you and get you mad. And they've convinced themselves that advocating for themselves or letting you know that they have a boundary or things that make them uncomfortable or things that they don't want to play is somehow an issue. And it's somehow them being a problem player. But you have to let them know that it's not. And I know the organic reaction is to kind of be like, well, it's on them. It's on them to say no. And yeah, you're right. It is. You're not wrong to think that. But if they don't feel like it's something they can do without repercussions, they won't. If someone isn't comfortable saying no to you, it's not on them, even though it might seem that way. It's on you. That person sees the space that you've created as a space where they cannot advocate for themselves without belittling you. And they don't want to do that. So you need to find a way to create an environment where your players feel like it would be okay to say no to you. I'm using the term say no. What I really mean is exerting agency and feeling like it's okay to be empowered and to have boundaries. There's a lot of power in enabling that for someone. Making them feel like, yes, they have control. They don't have to overcommit or expose themselves to uncomfortable situations, to discomfort, to make you happy. And the thing is, if you have a regular group, you're probably already doing this. You don't have to make any sweeping changes to your game. You probably already have a good and strong communication cadence. But if you feel like your communication could be better, or if you think about starting a new group, or even if you generally find human behavior interesting, this is something to think about. So obviously every group and every table is different. And my overall goal with this video is just to say to you, think about this. In the next video, I am going to share some specific things that, specific tools you can use. But what I want to talk about here is sort of, again, the environment you create outside of those formal safety tools. And like, if that concept is important to you, then this is sort of the foundation on which that will work. To reiterate, the purpose is to make people feel like they are respected and they are validated. The safety tools are just a way to enable that in a consistent way. In addition, though, like I said, if you have a regular group, and if you're playing emotional stories, a couple of things you can do outside of having formal safety tools is, number one, check in frequently and privately. This doesn't have to be like a big long thing, just like a DM online or something. You can just say like, hey, just wanted to check how you're feeling with the game. We just had kind of a heavy session. And having these sort of personal conversations allow you to avoid generalizations, and it makes it easier to build empathy and a connection with that individual person. That personal conversation organically puts your relationship first, which makes that trust easier to develop. And as I've been saying, trust is the biggest thing that is needed for someone to feel comfortable establishing a boundary and knowing that they can do that with you without repercussions. Number 2, be appreciative. You should be calling out players privately as well as in the game and above the table for awesome stuff they've done. This is fairly important to do generally, but it goes double for if a player has mentioned something uncomfortable, like they didn't know how to engage with something you put in front of them, or they didn't like the way a certain decision was made. It's way harder, but letting your players know that you appreciate and value the openness, even if it's something that challenges you in the moment, is a step towards building that trust and learning what's important to them. Number 3, last but not least, be open-minded. The therapy word for this is vulnerable, but all it really means is Be open to new experiences. Be open to uncertainty. Be open to new truths and lived experiences. It can and does feel uncomfortable because you are not accustomed to it. But you gotta, trial by fire. You have to be brave and you have to put yourself out there and, maybe talk about your own shit a little and seek these things out. There's a reason it's called growing pains or, teething pains, because it's uncomfortable now, but it's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a better GM in really meaningful ways. Every time you open yourself up instead of close yourself off, you're working towards something better. I've been talking a lot about how this impacts gaming and, how this can be used at the table. But really, these are kind of broader recommendations for all parts of your life. Be the person that other people feel empowered around. And you'll find that, somewhat paradoxically, the easier it is for your players to say no, the more they'll say yes. It's because now they have what the no was driving to all along, which was a sense of control in the situation. That's really all anyone wants, and they just need to know they have agency. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Come back next week. We'll talk about the actual toolkit you can use to help foster this environment. Definitely come and see me again. Bye.